Welcome to the Economic Liberation of Africa podcast. In this video, we will discuss a major development in the economic landscape of Africa. Recently, Burkina Faso's president issued a decree banning gold exports to retain control over the country's significant gold reserves. In this video, we will discuss the significance of Burkina Faso's gold export ban and economic independence, how it impacts the launch of Burkina Faso's first gold refinery, Burkina Faso's Treasury Deposit Bank, and what happened to Burkina Faso's artisanal gold production because of the ban. We will also discuss the impact of the ban on other African countries and other future economic implications and further plans. Stay with us until the end and get a better understanding of possibilities in Africa's future. And if you like what we're doing, please subscribe to our channel, like our videos, and by all means, please leave comments. Gerry, what is the significance of the Burkina Faso's gold export ban and economic independence?
Well, Peter, based on some of my research, the ban is to create, it really stopped gold from being exported out of Burkina Faso, so you can create some economic ecosystem within the country. It's a major step to try to control its own currency because it appears that they're receiving not enough profit on the gold that's being exported out of the country. So they're trying to create some kind of ecosystem that would they can control their currency and better negotiate their price and create a strong enough economic development system.
So it's widely understood that Western powers have been taking all of Africa's gold, or most of it, from all of the various countries, out of those countries to Western countries for refining it and keeping it in Western treasures and leaving Africans with nothing. And so what you're saying is that as a result of the ban, Burkina Faso says, hey, look, we need this gold for our domestic purposes. This gold is our number one export product. And if we are able to keep it and refine it ourselves, then we can do a lot more for our people than what we're getting done by selling it to Western power. Is that a fair statement?
I think it's a fair assessment of what is taking place. I think if I can add this piece, I think the political climate is going to be major with this, and even though economics is pretty much 1 + 1 or whatever that equation is, when you start placing bans on sort of the way you're doing business traditionally, then the other things step in because you got to negotiate some. I don't know what else is going on outside of Burkina Faso with other nations like France. And so from the surface, it sounds good, but when you start dealing in the politics, foreign affairs is a whole different story. So hopefully it'll be successful. Just my thoughts.
Thank you. And how did this ban help to launch the Burkina Faso's gold refinery?
Could you repeat that, please?
Yeah. When the ban was put in place, what impact did it have on Burkina Faso's ability to create a refinery and refine their own gold?
a good question. I think it gave them the ability to increase production. Gave them the ability to set pricing and make more profit. I mean, that's at the end of the day. If you're exporting this commodity across the border, across the pond, and you're getting less return on it, and you can maintain sort of a structure or infrastructure in place where you can dictate, so to speak, and mandate what your pricing is, I think it supports potentially a more healthy economy. More revenue can be made. Obviously, you can invest in infrastructure, so on and so forth. So I think that's the intent, and create this what they call a Treasury Deposit Bank, which is where you have to deposit the money in, and so on and so forth. So it's a lot more to it than it looks on the face. Just my thoughts. It just got more control.
Yes, and of course, the experts are saying that with Burkina Faso being able to refine its own gold and put it in a state treasury and require all of the gold produced in Burkina Faso to be refined in Burkina Faso, it allows Burkina Faso to create its own currency, and the currency will actually be backed by their gold, making it one of the most substantial currencies in the world. Because most currencies, as in the United States, is not backed by gold; it's just paper. But with Burkina Faso saying, look, if you invest in Burkina Faso's currency, then anytime you want to cash it out and get gold instead, you can do it. So it's very interesting, and
it is. It puts it's almost like you have put a stopgap measure into what other countries have been benefiting off of Burkina Faso on, is that they are setting the rules and the regulations, and now you can put measures in place to clean up your structure and the system of how you do business. And so, how much time that takes to do that, that's all left up to the elected officials and people who control this distribution process, and whatever negotiations and contractual agreements they have in place with other foreign countries. So I don't know what that is, but they obviously have some idea of how they need to make this work. Yeah. And if it gives them an opportunity to create more opportunity and a better infrastructure and provide more jobs, so be it.
Well, I think that the experts are saying it'll do all of that. And what was going on before this ban was issued was that the gold was being taken out of the country, refined in Western countries, and the money was held in Western banks. And right. what the Burkina Faso and other so-called Francophone African countries had to do was use a currency issued by the French.
Right.
And so the French could do anything with the currencies, and the African countries would have to adjust to it. However, if the gold is in Burkina Faso has a lot more control over its wealth, and it really is able to use it for to benefit its local citizens. So it's Very interesting. The other question I would like to ask, what is this uh, bank of deposit, the Burkina Faso Treasury Deposit Bank? You understand what that is and how it works?
Well, it gives you a system and sort of a repository to create a wide range of banking services for a wide range of clients, including, public institutions, state companies, local authorities, international organizations, and also private businesses and non-government organizations. So now you're beginning to create your own sort of monetary system that you control. And I think that's, at the end of the day, just like Wall Street, somebody controls the rules of the game. And if this is going to have some significant impact economically for Burkina Faso and its cities, I say it's a smart thing to do. The thing is, you've got to negotiate a deal, but the politics is going on, and maybe some other issues that you're dealing with locally to make sure that structure works. It really has to be a tight system. And so you got to have compliance measures in place that will make sure that what you're attempting to do in terms of taking control of your own monetary system, that people play by the rules. I mean, hell, that's the name of the game.
Sure. And one of the other things that they talk about is the fact that with the gold being held in Burkina Faso in this Treasury Deposit Bank, it's called a Treasury Deposit Bank, that means that the currency that is issued by Burkina Faso is a currency that Burkina Faso regulates. And as long as it maintains some stability in the marketplace, it's in control of its own financial system, which is probably the dream of every country in the world, to be in charge of its own money and use that money to help its citizens. And it sounds to me like Burkina Faso is well on its way to being a substantial, independent country with enough resources and control over those resources. I think it's the control over the resources,
right?
Probably most important, to actually do something for its people, help them with their health, their education, their welfare, all the things that Western nations do when they have money. Burkina Faso can do if it keeps its gold inside the country and use that gold to run its government and help its people.
I agree. If you got a country with 22 plus million people in it, and you can't be sustainable, there's a problem.
Absolutely.
And maybe this may reverse some of the things that have happened in the past and give Burkina Faso and its neighboring cities and also ability to trade with other countries as well.
Gerry, thank you. One of the things that this video talked about, and for our listening and viewing audience, I'll put a link to the original video in my podcast description that will be down below. And if you go to our description, you can find the link and you can view it yourself. I recommend that you view it yourself because Gerry and I are just giving you some highlights. But the whole issue is a major league issue, and it's something that all of us need to be aware of and respond in an appropriate kind of fashion. Now, the other thing about this ban, what it did, and this is important for our listeners to know, what this gold reform did was interrupted what's called artisanal miners. And an artisanal miner is simply a person that is mining gold as an individual and not using any, not really having gold mines of any significance. But it requires that these artisanal miners stop exporting gold from Burkina Faso and turn that gold over to the Burkina Faso refinery so that Burkina Faso can create this gold reserve to stabilize its currency and really foster a kind of economic independence that I think most African countries dream of. By doing that, what happens is the Burkina Faso government is setting up an example or setting an example for other African countries that have significant gold deposits and significant other kinds of natural resources that are being exported from their countries. And what the professionals are saying is that these resources are actually being taken out of Africa and leaving the Africans penniless. They're not being paid for. The Western professionals are just taking them out, taking all of the wealth and living high on the hog, if you will, while the people in Africa are starving. We've talked about this before. You want to comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it creates a culture of solidarity and unification. When you can, if you know that you have one of the commodities or resources in the entire world that everybody needs, and you have it in your backyard, then you can control the outcome. And I think people are beginning to understand how powerful that is, and we don't have to really depend on these other nations to tell us what to do all the time. And I think the power in this, that it creates those opportunities, people become more aware, you become more knowledgeable, you have more control, and you can leverage these other countries and nations who have been benefiting off of the resources that we have in the ground, and they haven't been giving us what it's worth. They've been making all the money off of it. They've been able to invest in machinery. They've been able to invest in manufacturing. They've been able to invest in economic development. And now the tables are beginning to turn where we see that, oh, now we can do that, and now we can create opportunity for the next 100 years, and maintain some control where we won't see our people living in poverty and having issues with all other infrastructure issues, so on and so forth. So I think it's a very unique opportunity at the right time.
Thank you. Now, I'd like to remind our listeners and viewers that our podcast, The Economic Liberation of Africa, is really being produced to help promote the work of the African Diaspora Development Institute, led by the Honorable Dr. Ericana Chihambori-Kwa. And so to help us in our efforts, please subscribe to our channel, leave comments, and give us any other kind of support that you can give us, because it sounds to me like the ultimate goal or the ultimate mission for the economic liberation of Africa is actually happening. And I should remind our listeners that back in the end of April, the beginning of May, ADDI, under the leadership of Dr. Arikana, did a trade mission to Burkina Faso. And of course, she was greeted. They were all greeted by the governor and just had a great time. But something that has worldwide significance is that after the trade mission, ADDI has established or is establishing an office in Burkina Faso to help those of us in the diaspora that are interested in investing in Burkina Faso to come and invest and know that on your way in you have some guidance through ADDI and through other Burkina Faso officers. But I'm just happy that this seems like a real marker in the long-term effort for Africa to economically liberate itself. So, pardon me for running on, but I'm a little excited, and so sometimes I get carried away. But remember, join ADDI, subscribe to our podcast, leave comments, and do anything else. And one other thing that I need to mention is one of our last videos, podcast, was on the farming in Africa. That seems to be where Black millionaires are going to grow in abundance. So as we bring you these videos and we talk about these activities, we're not talking just to hear ourselves talking. We're talking because Africa really is our land of opportunity, and it's calling Black people home to invest and make all of the money that has formerly been made by the Western countries. Western countries don't intend to allow that to happen. But when we make progress in spite of other people's intentions, not because of them. So go ahead, Gerry. I mean, I interrupted and I said a lot, but I want to hear from you.
I think you make some very interesting points. I think when we started this journey some time ago talking about Africa and the impact, particularly economic and social impact and political impact of what could happen, I think people are starting to recognize that it's just like any other country that's trying to put measures in place and metrics in place to create a more robust economic society, a more socially liberated society. And I think one of our civil rights leaders said some time ago, Malcolm X, when we start to reach our hands from America to Africa, and Africa does the same thing, it's going to be a whole different story. That means intellectual capital. That means social capital. That means travel, economic power, education. That means so many things that, in real time, we're beginning to realize what's going on. We don't have to wait until reading a history book. These things are happening right now.
Well, I agree, and we don't like to go on and on with our podcast. We're excited about what we're doing and what's actually happening. But for future podcasts, make sure that you subscribe to this one and watch some of the other ones that we've done. If you have ideas, share your ideas with us. And remember, become a member of ADDI, and I will really bring our conversation to an end. We'll have other videos coming soon. And in some of our other videos, I know that we have two that are in production. One of them is talking about the fact that in the next 40 years, Africa is expected to experience the same type of growth that China experienced over the last 40 years. And that's
Absolutely.
an investment opportunity for Black folk worldwide. And the other video that I think is imperative for our viewing audience is a video that deals with the historical underdevelopment of Africa and why it is that Western powers are determined that Africa will be forever poor. And the theory is the only way that Western countries can be rich is to keep Africa poor so that they can take the resources out of Africa to benefit the Western world. So those are common. You want to make a parting comment, Gerry?
I think you're right, Peter. I think people need to join the movement now. I think technology is helping to accelerate the process that we can create those kind of opportunities as well. So join the movement. I mean, it's here, and we need to continue to have this dialogue ongoing with this podcast.
Okay, well, I thank you, and we'll do this again before too long. We try to do a video, hopefully 1 or 2 videos per week. So if we fall behind, it's because we're new to this and we're just learning how to get it done. But follow us, and the way to actually follow us is to make sure that you subscribe and check the notification bell. That way, every time we post one, you'll get a notice. And we're going to bring you some interesting information from what's going on in the motherland, and the opportunities are astounding, and you're not going to realize it until you actually pay attention to what's going on over there. So with that being said, I'll let all of you go. Gerry, thank you so much. And
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, and I'll see you the next go round.
All right, thanks a lot. Take care.
So with that being said, again, if you like what we're talking about, if you appreciate what we're talking about, please give us a like, subscribe to our channel, sign our notification bell, and leave some comments. We want to know what you think, what you suggest, because what we're doing is we're setting out to economically liberate Africa and Africans in the diaspora. And with that being said, I'm going to conclude this session and invite all back for our next session. Thank you so much.